in the 80s. I mean that the general opinion in the UK seemed to be that we were sort of a boy band, rocking boy band sort of. So finally we're getting the respect that we earned, I think. So it's definitely one of the biggest shows that we do, and one of the biggest opportunities we have to really show people what we are about these days.
Right. And well said, Ian. And I think that the new Europe is a great term to use because with Last Look at Eden, it's kind of a rebirth of the band. If you haven't heard the album yet, folks, it's been out for a little bit now, but it incorporates a lot of, I've seen 70s rock being thrown around, and classic rock is another word that's been used to describe it, but you really get that kind of Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin type feel on some of the tracks. Is that something that the band wanted to get in the studio, Ian, or is that something that just kind of came up when you guys all got back together and were recording the album?
Well, I think that if we look back at the other two albums we did after the reunion, the first one, which was Start from the Dark, and the second one, which was Secret Society, I think we had sort of more of a kind of an idea that we wanted to, especially with Secret Society, we wanted to make an album that sounded really modern and really, up to date sound-wise and also songwriting-wise. But I think looking back at it, it might not have been, the wisest move, sort of, because we by deciding to make an album that sounds like this or that, you immediately restrict yourself to certain frames, which was in our situation not very good, I think. So I think we learned a lot from those two albums. That okay, we'll try this, and if that doesn't work, we do something else. So when we started writing songs for Last Look at Eden, we decided not to decide on anything at all. We just went along with the vibe, and some riffs came up from Joey and John, and we just played around with the ideas, and it became whatever it grew into songs rather than having a picture of a song made from the beginning. And also I think we had a very good relationship and a good working situation with Tobias, the producer engineer. He helped us out a lot with getting the right sound, and also he helped us out with arrangements on many of the songs and so forth. So I think this Last Look at Eden is much more spontaneous album than both Start from the Dark and Secret Society, and I don't know, it feels like this is the way to go. This is the way to work when it comes to the band Europe. We just need to be there and just let the music flow and try and make the songs sound as good as possible. But they definitely have to come from the spur of the moment, sort of.
Right. I want to talk about the break. When I was doing research for the article, Ian, I found it real interesting when it was talked about as far as the break in '92 and Europe going on hiatus. It was always called exactly that. It was called a hiatus. It was called a break. It was called almost a vacation type situation. There was never words used like breakup. There was never, it seemed, no friction in the band. The break was over 10 years, and now Europe comes back and they're energized. They use terms like looking 5 years down the road, they want to do this. 5 years down the road, Europe wants to do 2 world tours. 5 years down the road, Europe wants to release 2 more albums. I thought that was real refreshing from a fan standpoint, that you get that kind of vision. Was the break something that really, really had to happen, and is that something that's really spurned Europe on for the long term?
I think so, yeah, definitely. I think we were pretty much burned out at the end of the 80s. I mean, we had a lot of friction with the record company and also with the management at the time, and we'd been touring pretty heavily, and it messed up our personal lives, and that didn't help either. So I mean, we just when we released Christmas in Paradise, finally when we got it out, it felt like yesterday's news. We have a song called Yesterday's News, but in any way, we what we did was we recorded the Prisons of Paradise album twice, I think you can say, because we first worked with a team together with a record company, the A&R guys and everything, and we settled on I don't remember